Beloved Creator, we thank you for this opportunity to be of service for a beautiful sister who has need of support and compassion. We thank you for an enduring remedy in a cause in which she has been traumatized unnecessarily simply by exercising her right to travel freely. We thank you for pouring your grace on her and on those of us who speak on behalf of her freedom. There should be no force, but instead flow in her travels, and we pray that by her strength, others will benefit from her way showing. We honor her and we humbly honor the free will you have bestowed to us, and we do it in your name. Let it be so, and so it is.
Thank you, Charlie.
My pleasure. So this trial is cause number 0212202 MRRH-B, and it is being recorded and will be posted for public use. This is a Petit jury trial held on Monday, March 25th, AD 2024 at 7:15 p.m., recorded on Skype. Welcome to our sixth Petit jury trial. This trial is being conducted by our Article 3, Amendment 7 Civilian Court Common Law Court of Record. Unlike corporate law, that of the civil and criminal courts that populate all our municipalities from coast to coast, ours is based on the original Constitution based on American common law prior to and up to circa 1859. A common law and a court and jury pool of our peers that once held and votes taken, their verdict has no appeal in fact. One thing we learned in our appearing for the named person's arraignment and delivery of recommended oaths with God included is twofold. Leo oaths, that is, law enforcement officers. Leo oaths no longer include God and do not include any reference to the Oregon Constitution, which is a critically important document denied. Sadly, the corporation, acting as a government, has chosen dishonor to take us seriously. But we are de jure. We are the provisional government, as written in Article 1, Section 1 in our Oregon Constitution. Cynthia, would you please read that?
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Article 1, Section 1, Bill of Rights. We declare that all men, when they form a social compact, are equal in right, that all power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness, and they have at all times a right to alter, reform, or abolish the government in such manner as they may think proper.
Thank you. So that's what's missing from the Leo's oath as it stands. Our court, our jury pool, our assembly, all of us, the people at large, publici juris, in Black 6th, page 1229, are the provisional government on Oregon, aka Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. That said, this trial is regarding a respected and respectful woman on the land and soil on Oregon. But it is much larger than just one of the people and one case or cause, because it involves freedom at its most elemental. It involves our right to freely travel. This is not about driving privileges, as the state so wrongly labels the issue. The layers upon layers of control mechanisms that involve titling our means of conveyance, then registration, then the licensing of our conveyance, then licensing us, then regularly being emissions tested and re-upping our permissions to travel, go unacknowledged by many, the millions and minions among us. To most, by design, it is business as usual. And yes, it is business. Business for the state, the U.S. corporate state, that by one small infraction can ticket or jail you as a debtor criminal, thereby ensnaring you into their corrupt CRIS, that is CRIS, court system, their operational retirement insurance fund, on the backs of the people who do not comply to the rules of the road. Our court held a grand jury hearing on Monday, the 12th of February, 2024. 32 in attendance from our jury pool voted unanimously in favor of the guilt and charges I am now going to present here. I will start with the presentment and notice of arraignment, which was mailed certified with return request. Then I will list the persons our court served personally on the prescribed date and with a proper oath to the proper constitutions. I will add that all served, we were only able to engage with Newburgh-Dundee Police Chief Jeff Kosmicki, who, with a police officer, took considerable time with us in the lobby discussing our cause and case and that of the woman Michelle, who had been undeservedly stalked, ticketed, arrested, jailed, and strip searched. In other words, she was unlawfully criminalized. Before I continue, I now call on our secretary, Tanya, to establish our jury. Tanya, would you please call the bona fides verified 12 from our jury pool to the jury? And we'll need an additional 2 for backup. You're muted, hon. And so can you, when she calls your name, can you say here or present?
Mike Brooks?
They'll need to unmute to do this, so give them a little moment. Mike, are you unmuted? Mike Brooks?
There. Okay, sorry. This thing is, I hate this interface.
Okay, that's fine. Yes or no? You're here. Okay, Mike is
Yes,
here.
I'm here.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead and mute. Thank you, Mike. Tanya, go ahead.
Bill?
Bill Dollison?
Present.
Mark?
Is that Mark Gregg? Yeah. Yeah, he's here.
Guy?
Present.
Glenn?
Here.
Ann?
Present.
Dr. David?
Present.
Brandon?
I'm here.
Carrie?
Carrie? You seem to be muted, but I see Carrie here. Do you want to, can you say hi, Carrie? Or is your, I guess you don't have sound. Oh, she put her thumb up.
Lily?
Lily is muted. Lily, can you unmute? Lily, can you unmute? Okay. I don't know.
Kim?
Kim Swigger, okay.
I'm here.
That's Kim?
I'm here.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank-
Melissa?
Here.
Cynthia?
Present.
Rod,
I'm here.
okay, that's it, Charlie.
Okay,
Unless we
so-
can't find,
Well,
unless we
Lily
can't
hasn't,
get Lily.
yeah, Lily hasn't responded, so let's go ahead and have her be back up and move someone else up. You can move Cynthia or Rod up if you want.
Okay,
Okay, so would you go ahead and name the 12 then? Just the first names is fine.
Mike, Phil. You want me to start over? Mike, Phil, Mark, Guy, Glenn, Cynthia, Ann, Dr. David, Brandon, Carrie, Kim, and Melissa.
Rod and Lily?
Yep.
Thank you. Those of you who were not called to the jury or on this call and are on this call and wish to vote, you can put it in the chat. It'll have your name with it, and you can say when it comes to the time of the vote, you can say guilty or not guilty of a due process violation is what we're going to be voting on. So
What's the code for Skype?
not a
Is there
time,
a
that's
code
not
to
the
log
time.
in
No, not a time, Rod.
Oh.
Just, nope.
Okay.
Mute, please. Everyone mute, no questions. As there are numerous violations listed for each named person, the jury will vote on only one charge, that of the named having violated due process as written in the Bill of Rights, Amendment 5. Also, Amendment 6 comes into play. I found no definition for due process in the Volume 1 Bouvier Dictionary dated 1856. It only had the word due. So the definition of due process from Black's 11th edition is the conduct of legal proceedings according to established rules and principles for the protection and enforcement of private rights, including notice and the right to a fair hearing before a tribunal with the power to decide the case, also termed due process law. In the 1996 edition of Black's, the phrase means that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, property, or of any right granted him by statute, unless the matter involved first shall have been adjudicated against him upon trial conducted according to established rules regulating judicial proceedings, and it forbids condemnation without a hearing. And there's a reference. The concept of due process of law, as it is embodied in Fifth Amendment, demands that a law shall not be unreasonable, arbitrary, or capricious, and that the means selected shall have a reasonable and substantial relation to the object being sought. And there's a reference. I will add that in this, our common law court, none of the entities named in this case or cause have provided their required proof of proper bona fides with the proper claims and jurisdictions, such as the fact that they are serving the U.S. Corporation, Inc., versus honoring the United States of America's Constitution, circa 1857, and any reference to Oregon's Constitution, much less us, the people named in it, and Article 7, the original, in Oregon's Constitution. When they do not qualify to serve the people by providing the required bona fides to those of us they pretend to serve, their allegations, claims, statutes, and jurisdictions, they can be considered outlaw. I will now read the presentment document, which includes those who offended and the list of their offenses by each entity or institution. Bear with me, it's a long list. This is the presentment and notice of arraignment. on cause 0212-2024 MRRH. Our Article 3 Amendment 7 Civilian Court of Record held court on the 12th of February AD 2024, hosting a well-attended grand jury hearing on behalf of Michelle Renee Ropp Henriksen, in which we found a preponderance of evidence of numerous violations perpetrated on and against Michelle, beginning on the 9th of February AD 2021 and continuing through last Saturday, the 10th of February AD 2024. By all evidence and actions of unrelenting constructive malice by various law enforcement entities, LEOs, their violations and the institutions they serve, which are listed at the end of this document, a presentment, also serving as a notice of arraignment to those who have grossly violated Michelle Renee Ropp Hendriksen's lawfulness, dignity, and freedom. She has been extorted and kidnapped, and her activities and right to freely travel were interrupted, and quite actually, she has been harassed, traumatized, and terrorized unnecessarily and against all good judgment. This is a jurisdiction case moving through the de facto system from the LEOs through several courts, each and all of them who must prove their bona fides when this case is filed. There is law, equity, and admiralty, and Article 1 and Article 3 and Amendment 7. Article 7 amended and original et alia. Identify your court. Michelle will be filing into each one a claim seeking remedy. If the court fails to provide remedy as guaranteed in their charter, they cease to be. This case cannot afford to go unrecognized in admiralty. We herein notice risk management with a $250,000 fine per incident, as written in 18 U.S.C. 3571. The grand jury is sending presentments, has sent, to the prosecutors involved. Notifications to the sheriffs and USMS, OSP, US DOJ, Oregon Provost Marshal, and JAG, Office of County DA, Nancy Cozine, FBI, USMC, State of Oregon Deputy Secretary of State Cheryl Myers, and to the Commander-in-Chief, Donald John Trump, in 2 locations issued as well are true bills to our Article 3 Amendment 7 Civilian Court of Record, claiming original jurisdiction. There were 35 mind, body, soul, flesh, blood, spirit, men and women on the land and soil on Oregon who appeared from our jury pool with their bona fides in order. Once provided with the preponderance of evidence, deprivation of rights under color of law, deprivation of due process of law, and failure to honor and respect Michelle Renee Ropp Hendriksen's status, standing, and jurisdiction, their decision was a unanimous yes. An additional out-of-state witness who voted yes to the unanimous decision. The grand jury proceedings have been posted on our website and on the internet. As in common law, everything is open, honest, and true, and is on the public record. Nothing is hidden. And I see that I misquoted. It's 35 people who appeared and voted. Not the, I think 32 was what I mentioned earlier. That was my memory failure. Those of you listed on pages 4 and 5 are hereby noticed for your arraignment to be held 10 business days from the postmark date. You are hereby ordered to appear at your address listed on page 5 with our court and will arrive the day of Thursday, the 29th of February, AD 2024, time determined by us and our travel ability, and we did appear. At that time, you are to take the constitutionally lawful actions, or you acquiesce to breaking your oath, having no honor, and being unfit to serve in your position. In 30 days, this truth stands as fact in law, at which point we will take further action. There's a with full faith and credit section here, which I'm not going to read at this time, but our documents are published on our website, and I've also posted them on our Skype chat. So these are public information, publicly filed. This communique is not intended to mislead, defraud, deceive, or threaten in any way, and is submitted in good faith and with clean hands. We do lawful, not legal, and this is our best effort. There's a footnote, and I'm going to refer to it here, and I'll refer to it again at the end of this trial. A theory of value such as due process is valued at $250,000 per violation in 18 USC number 3501. A theory of value violation law with color of law. A theory that when you hold a position, you are responsible for fulfilling your obligation. Bouvier Law Dictionary, 1856 edition. And this was a document that we all, not we all, but numerous of us signed. It's our stamped document. And then we posted that with return receipt. So these are the individuals who were named. We didn't serve each one of them, but most of them. And so I'm going to read the name and their institution that they're serving, and the violations against Michelle Renee Rob Hendrickson that occurred the day of her arrest. It's not the first arrest also. This has been an ongoing nuisance. So Newburgh Police Department, Brian Hagan and Jeff Moreland. Deprivation of rights under color of law, harm, injury, harassment, stalking, trespass, coercion, fraud, breach of trust, enslavement, misrepresentation, impersonation, unlawful conversion, false crimes in commerce, human trafficking, collusion, illegal search and seizure, warring against the constitutions, terrorism, and kidnapping. The Newburgh Muni Court, that's municipal court, Judge Larry Blake Jr., Court Clerk Wendy Looney. Deprivation of rights under color of law, harm, injury, racketeering, harassment, fraud, usury, securities and credit fraud, breach of trust, enslavement, malfeasance, misrepresentation, impersonation, unlawful conversion, false crimes in commerce, human trafficking, collusion, warring against the constitutions, terrorism. The Sherwood Police Department, arresting officer Christopher J. Pierce, Sergeant Jason Christensen, assisting officer Sean Perry. Deprivation of rights under color of law, harm, injury, trespass, coercion, fraud, breach of trust, enslavement, misrepresentation, impersonation, unlawful conversion, false crimes in commerce, human trafficking, collusion, warring against the constitutions, terrorism, and kidnapping. The Yamhill County Jail intake. I don't know her first name, but it's Kay McGraw. Unlawful strip search, gross misconduct, trespass, harm, injury, fraud, breach of trust, and terrorism. So now I'm going to read the list of offending individuals and the institution that employs them. These persons were mailed with proof of service, the presentment and notice of arraignment, and were personally served by 4 members of our court on a prescribed day, as we noted in the presentment. That individual who did come out was Jeff Kosmicki, police chief for the Newburgh-Dundee Police Department, who gave us a copy of his oath of office. And in fact, he gave us 2 oaths, one that he signed in the late 1990s, and the second one, which is a current one that eliminates the use of the words God or reference to God. So there's no oath to higher source of being. And also, it doesn't include, neither of the oaths include the Oregon Constitution. While we spent a lengthy time talking together while we all stood in the entry area of the courthouse, I remind you that his jurisdiction is that of de facto, and he serves the city of Dundee-Newburgh, which is a subdivision of the county of Yamhill, which is a subdivision of the state of Oregon Incorporated, which is a subdivision of the U.S. D.C. Corporation, Inc. The following names are the individuals you will vote to declare them guilty or not guilty of a due process violation. So I'm going to read the names, and then after I read the names, we will vote, and I'll direct that as we go. So these are the individuals that we served with an oath certificate. We made 2 originals, one of which was our copy, both of which, one we left and one we kept, were date stamped received at every spot, every individual that we went to visit that day. And we covered McMinnville, Newburgh, Hillsborough, Sherwood. Yeah, so we covered the gamut. It's a lot of miles. It's a full day. We went to Brad C. Berry, Esquire. He's the district attorney on McMinnville. We went to Newburgh Muni Court, clerk of court Wendy Looney, and Judge Larry Blake Jr. Newburgh Dundee Police Chief Jeff Kosmicki, Officer Brian Hagan, Officer Jeff Moreland. City Prosecutor Jean Schuback. Yamhill County Sheriff Samuel J. Elliott. Washington County Sheriff Caprice Massey. Sherwood Police Chief Ty Hanlon. Arresting Officer Christopher J. Pierce. Sergeant Jason Christensen. Assisting Officer Sean Perry. And then these were sent to Donald John Trump, care of General Eric M. Smith, and General David Berger, political liaison for Donald John Trump. Okay, so if you can call the name of the first name of one person, Tanya, and then I will say the name and state how they need to cite it, whether it's guilty or not guilty of a due process violation in this case. Okay, so go ahead and give me a name.
Mike,
Okay. Mike, do you find all named to be guilty or not guilty of a due process violation in this case? Please say guilty or not guilty.
Guilty.
Thank you.
They're in violation of the 6th Amendment. Trial by jury is required, and they're also violating Oregon law, which means it's a Class D violation in Oregon, which means it's a maximum of a $100
Okay,
fine.
thank you, Mike. That's enough. We just need a guilty or not guilty based on due process violation, so thank you. All right. Go ahead next, Tanya.
Phil,
Guilty.
Thank you, Phil. Next.
Mark,
Mark, do you find all named to be guilty or not guilty of a due process violation? Can't hear you. Say just thumbs up, thumbs down. Yes. All right. Thumbs up. Okay.
Guy,
Guy,
Guilty.
do you find, okay, you find all named to be guilty or not guilty of a due process violation? Thank you. I'm sorry. I dropped the ball there.
Glenn,
Glenn, do you find all named to be guilty or not guilty of a due process violation in this case?
Guilty.
Thank you.
Cynthia,
Cynthia, do you
I
find all?
find them guilty of denying my friend her rights as a live, breathing. Guilty.
Thank you.
Ann,
And do you find all named to be guilty or not guilty of a due process violation?
Guilty.
Thank you.
Dr. David,
Dr. David, do you find all named to be guilty or not guilty of a due process violation?
Guilty.
Thank you.
Brandon,
Brandon, do you find all named to be
Guilty.
guilty or not guilty?
Guilty of the due process violation.
Thank you.
Carrie,
Carrie, do you find all named to be guilty or not guilty? And she has no sound, but her thumb is up and she's nodding yes. Thank you.
Kim,
Kim, do you find all named to be guilty or not guilty in a due process violation in this case?
I find them all to be guilty as charged.
Thank you.
Melissa,
Milton, do you find all to be guilty or not guilty of a due process violation in this case, Melissa?
I find them all guilty of violation of due process.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa.
Rod,
Rod, do you find all named to be guilty or not guilty of a due process violation in this case?
Self-evident, guilty.
Thank you. Okay.
Lily,
Lily, can you unmute? We have our 12 so far. We're into the backup here, so we're fine. Okay, and then anyone else who wants to enter their name in the chat who hasn't and wants to vote, you're not on the jury, but you're in our jury pool, and every person counts, every one of us. So you're welcome to place your vote. So thank you for your presence and presence of mind in addressing this case against the flesh and blood, mind, body, spirit woman on Oregon, Michelle Renee Robb Hendrickson. We chose one charge of one violation of due process perpetrated by those persons suspected of occupying a job for money to which they were not entitled. Because there were many charges against them, we chose only one that they can never be tried for again in our court of record, that charge being a due process violation. We leave many on the table, such as the murder of Robert Lavoie Finicum. These 13 are thus found guilty of violations of due process, each one individually and the office that they hold. Unless they provide their proper bona fides, such as election or selection results, acts of legislature, clerk, certified election results or employment requirements and certificates of qualification, licenses, associations and societies, letters of appointment or selection, oaths and bonds, they fail us and are contributors and part of a top-heavy and overbearing governance that is working against rather than on behalf of the people on Oregon. Each person and office will acquiesce to a violation of due process, 18 U.S.C. 3571, with a penalty of $250,000 for there is no bond. Then the collection will be with risk management insurance of the state of Oregon, aka the state of Oregon, the de facto Salem oligarchy. They each will be issued notice of their conviction of their due process violation of Michelle Renee Robb Hendrickson. For their receipt of the notice, they will have 2, 14, and 21 days to respond or rebut, or they default 3 times to the claims in our de jure jurisdiction. At the end of 30 days, it becomes fact in the de facto. This trial and all records pertinent to it are recorded and may be used in a de facto court of law. This ends our Petit trial on the cause number 02122024 MRHH-B. Thank you, everyone.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying. Then he jumps out of the car, and he's got both his hands up. And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, "Just shoot me then. This is what you want, to shoot me." And they did. They shot him dead. With his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, shot him 3 more times.